But I built a software recently and that fixed that. So it completely eliminates. We're running at a 0% churn right now for the last 6 months. It's never happened like that before. It's incredible. It doesn't miss.
This episode is brought to you by my friend Silas Lagoy over at ForgeMark Wealth. If you're a high-income business owner or professional and feel like you're getting crushed by taxes, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not stuck. ForgeMark Wealth specializes in advanced legal tax strategies and wealth planning designed to help you keep more of what you make, grow it efficiently, and actually build long-term freedom, not just income. If you're making serious money but don't have a real strategy behind it yet, I highly recommend connecting with Silas and his team. What's up, everybody? This episode is sponsored by ExitWise. If you're a business owner thinking about selling your company, whether that's now or years down the road, you need to know what your business is actually worth and how to maximize that exit. That's exactly what ExitWise does. They help you prepare, position, and ultimately sell your business by assembling a world-class team of M&A experts around you, guiding you from valuation all the way through closing. If you want to know what your business is really worth and how to increase that number before you sell, go check out exitwise.com and get ahead of it. This episode is brought to you by Blue Collar Business Advisors. If you're running an HVAC, plumbing, electrical, or landscaping, or any other type of home service business and wondering where all the money is going despite growing your revenue, you need to talk to Paul Maskill. Paul has scaled and sold multiple blue-collar businesses and now helps business owners improve cash flow, profitability, and financial clarity through outsourced CFO services. His clients gain a better understanding of their numbers, build predictable profits, and create a business that supports the life they actually want. One of the things I appreciate most about Paul is he's not just a finance guy. He's been in the trenches as an owner. He understands the challenges of running blue-collar businesses because he's done it himself. If you're doing a few $1 million a year in revenue and want to stop guessing at your numbers and start building real wealth, head over to bluecollaradvisors.com. That's thebluecollaradvisors.com and schedule a discovery call with Paul and his team. Blue Collar Business Advisors, helping blue-collar business owners build financially healthy companies and achieve permanent profitability. This episode is brought to you by Corberry Digital. If you own an HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing, or home service business and you're tired of wondering where your next lead is coming from, you need to check out Corberry Digital. Corberry specializes exclusively in helping home service companies dominate their local markets through SEO, Google Ads, local service ads, websites, content marketing, and lead generation systems that actually produce a measurable ROI. Their team doesn't just focus on clicks and impressions. They help contractors lower customer acquisition costs, increase qualified leads, and build a marketing engine that scales. What I like about Corberry is they understand the blue-collar space. They aren't trying to be everything to everyone. Their entire focus is helping trades businesses win in their backyard and generate more profitable jobs. If you're looking to grow your business, improve your online visibility, and build a marketing system that works, visit Corberry.com and schedule a strategy session with their team. That's Corberry.com. Tell them you heard about them on the podcast. This episode is brought to you by 10X Nerds. If you're a business owner doing real revenue, there's a good chance you're overpaying in areas you haven't even looked at. Things like credit card processing, insurance, telecom, and more. 10X Nerds comes in, audits your expenses across 30 plus categories, and finds immediate savings. And here's the kicker. They only get paid if they save you money. It's a complete no-brainer. If you want to keep more of what you make, go check them out at 10xnerds.com. This episode is brought to you by Rakowski Law Firm. If you're a business owner or have built a level of wealth, but you don't have your estate plan dialed in, you're exposed. Rakowski Law Firm helps families and business owners protect their assets, avoid probate, and make sure everything transfers exactly how it should. This isn't just paperwork. It's a real strategy to protect your legacy. If you haven't looked at your plan in a while or don't have one, go to rakowskilawfirm.com. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Big Hitters Podcast. I'm joined by Chris Kille, who is a founder and owner of EO Staff. And Chris is going to become a friend, I can tell. Met you through Facebook. And I think, Chris, the way that this happened was I have been, and I was just telling you, I've been dying to meet other owners of virtual assistant staffing companies. And so when one comes up, I'm like, I got to talk to this guy. And so I'm really excited to pick your brain, dude. I am a fan of outsourced staff, no matter who's doing it and how they're doing it. I just think that is such a powerful tool in almost any industry. And so I'd love to hear your story, man. Tell us how you kind of got into this space and kind of where you guys focus as a company.
Yeah. So thanks for having me. But I guess I'll just give you the Reader's Digest version, right? So I've been doing this 5 years now. And before this, I owned a FinTech, a payments company. And I've been doing that about 15 years. I was a one-man show for a long time, and then I started hiring and firing, and I kind of caught myself in that cycle where I was making enough money to make a good living for myself, but I really didn't want to chip off of that to hire the type of people that I should hire. And so I kind of lived in this nasty cycle of, bringing people on and just, it wasn't, end of the day, I wasn't paying enough, so I wasn't attracting the right people. And over the years, the business started to grow on, or started to build on me, and I started having some really health issues that were coming up around stress. I actually got hospitalized. They thought I had a stroke, and it was just because I take things I'm so passionate about my business that it pushed me over the edge in terms of it, and just me having to balance everything on my own. So I was at a conference, like a mastermind in Charleston, South Carolina, and there was a guy who stood on stage and he talked about virtual assistants, and I was like, that's it. That's what I need to do. So I hired a bunch for myself. They then started handling my entire back end. So they were handling all my onboarding, all my applications, my customer service, everything like that, and just allowed me to focus on selling. It was like whenever that happened, my company took off like a rocket ship, right? 3 years later, I sold it. And then I started doing this because I was able to help a couple of my friends along the way. And I found that this is a lot more fulfilling than fighting people for fractions of pennies,
Chris, out of curiosity, I feel like a lot of VA staffing companies have like a niche. Do you feel like you have an in with a certain industry or type of clientele?
Yeah, so we focus on national franchises with more than 50 locations. So we take a lot of onesie twosie accounts, right? I'm in a lot of masterminds and Facebook groups and things like that, and we get people that come to us all the time. People are every day in my DMs that we're having conversations with, and they're great. We bring them on. Sometimes they're not a fit. We kind of have a different go-to-market strategy than most people, but we tell them when they're not a fit. But I started working with national franchises many years ago, and I found that it's a great way to be able to grow your company, but also keep things very consistent in terms of the type of person that you're putting out.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm just so curious about this. So, like, what would be an example of the type of franchise that you're helping? And so you're not doing, like you mentioned, that you're doing one or two at a time, of course, but I'm assuming that means you're doing like 10 or 20 at a time. So you're trying to figure out more like institutional contracts with some of those franchise brands.
Exactly. Yeah, we're coming in. I can't say who we're doing that, but there's some pretty big ones in the home service industry. We have 11 now.
Wait. Who's your biggest client? And what's his cell phone number? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, so that's what it is. I go in and I talk to the right contact at the franchise, right? It takes a long time. Those relationships sometimes take years to build, right? We brought one on last year that took 6 years to build, and it actually carried over from my credit card processing business. It was just like one day he was like, hey, I'm ready. Cool. All right, let's go. And so, and then from there, right, even bringing them on, onboarding, right? We just signed our 50th deal with them, and we've been working with them for over a year. So it's not something that comes in. It's a long play, right? You have to be very patient. There's a lot of hand holding that comes in on it.
Yeah.
But we're able to put an offer together for them that works for their entire system.
And so I love that. So a dream of mine would be to be having those types of conversations with blue collar franchisees, right? Like Orkin Pest Control, like those are the kinds of guys that I want to be
That's
helping.
where we play. That's the playground that I'm in. Yeah.
I love that. I'm assuming that means you said there's a lot more probably due diligence that goes on. Like they probably have to evaluate a lot more of your financials, your credibility, things like that. So you're jumping through some more like almost like regulatory hoops. It might feel like, does that kind of seem like what it's been like?
Not so much like financial review, but they definitely, they're checking references. There's usually a pretty long pilot period that goes where they'll give you access to one or two of their people. You bring them on, they get their feedback. And then if they if you pass the test, essentially, then they kind of roll you out. Like, so a lot of franchisees don't even know about you while the pilot's going on until you get the blessing, essentially. And then it's done on like a webinar where you're introduced to the team, just like they would for other vendors.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really rewarding. I love it when people's eyes light up. They get their first virtual assistant. They're like, wait, why didn't I do this like years ago? You know, this is such a game changer. What, have there been any kinds of roles that you feel like you guys have gotten? Like, we love executive assistants. You know, what has there been, like CSRs? Like, has there been any side of specific types of roles that you guys like to staff, or is it pretty much everything?
No, so that's a great question. We used to just do anything, like, hey, we'll find it for you, whatever. And obviously, you know, you can't scale that way. It's just too, especially if you're putting a guarantee behind your people, it's just too hard, right? There's too many variables.
Yeah.
And so we actually got into like a hybrid CSR role. We call them revenue operations assistants. And they focus on two areas, right? So they focus on revenue protection, which are, you know, speed to lead, following up with the pipeline, making sure that, you know, the CRM hygiene's done, and making sure no money is falling out of the, you know, out of the sales process, following up on quotes and invoices, things like that. And then process-driven admin, which are those daily repeatable tasks, right? So they're not coming up with strategy. They're not building out your social media, you know, presence or anything like that. They're executing on systems or on activities that are already in place. And really it's a very narrowly defined role whenever they're coming in, as, you know, so we try to eliminate role stretch entirely.
I know that I find a lot, especially with the blue collar guys, like trying to convince them to hire someone overseas can be really like hard to convince someone to do. Have you, like, what have you seen in terms of trends? Because it seems to be growing, the outsourced staff type of thing. How do you kind of speak to those guys out of curiosity? Like, what do you normally say to help them overcome objections? Or maybe like, what's an example of one where you're just like, man, this is a perfect example of where the guy didn't believe in it and it totally shaped his business?
So what I found is there's really, a lot of those guys are curious, right? They're not really sure. They're very skeptical when they get on the phone with you. And so what I found is, you know, being able to educate and let them know that this is not, you know, magic beans, right? Everybody's doing it. All your big competitors are doing it, right? In some capacity, like every major company has this going on in some way, shape, or form. And what really is it's getting them to, because those guys, look, most of the time they just want to get out of the truck, right? They don't want to be, especially when you're dealing with the people that are scaling the 500 to 2 million in revenue. They're still out in the field every day. They're turning wrenches and shit, you know, whatever. And that's not what they signed up for. And they know that, right? They knew they'd have to pay their dues for a year or two or whatever. But, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, they're trying to get away from that. So that way they can actually own a business instead of being just a, you know, underpaid employee. And so really painting the picture of what life looks like when they're able to delegate, but then also giving them examples and showing them how it's okay, where you can trust these people with the proper training, with the proper onboarding. But then it also, you know, you also have to let them know too, this is not easy. This is going to require work on your part as well, at least for the first 90 days to get this person really onboarded into your company. And so those are the types of conversations that I have. Whenever I found if I try to convince somebody, it usually never works. But whenever I just, you know, I try to give information and find out what they're, and then ultimately match it against that, you know, they want to get out of the truck.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, amen. I love that. Our mission is freedom. Like any way that we can create freedom, that's the goal. I was stuck inside of a business I hated. And so, like a lot of those guys, they feel stuck, right? And so you're offering a solution that can really create some real freedom for them. I'm curious, just kind of two-sided question. What's going really well in your business right now, Chris? And then what are some challenges you guys are facing?
So we're actually at a point right now, and I was actually just talking to my EA about this yesterday. This is the first time in a couple of years, and I'm actually very content, right? So I'm super ADHD, right? And so on Instagram, that's all I do. I make content around ADHD, business owners, and things like that. It's just me yapping, right? And one of the ones that I came out with the other day, and it's gotten great feedback, is when is enough, right? I mean, and I'm a hard driver. I'm sure you are too. I'm very ambitious. And, I'm always, when can you just sit and say, okay, we're just going to let this run? Because for me, I'm always like, oh, let's change this. If it's not working right away, okay, we have to tweak it. We have to do this. We're always just fucking fidgeting and toying with things. And my biggest problem for 5 years, and I know this is probably your biggest problem, and most of the people that are in staffing as well too, is the quality and consistency of candidates that are coming out. Right.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that, that's the hardest part. You have to find the people, you have to screen them, you have to, use your bullshit meter to see if they're actually, and then you have to hope that that the client likes them and that whenever they come on board, they stay. For us, we have a guarantee. So it's like if we got into a couple of years ago where it was just churn, right? We were at a 50% churn. If I brought a customer on, within 3 months, I was replacing that. And I had weak people on the team, right? Leadership wasn't that best, which was me, right? So I'm going to wear that hat. But I built a software recently and that fixed that. So it completely eliminates, we're running at a 0% churn right now for the last 6 months. It's never happened like that before. It's incredible. It doesn't miss. And so actually one of the things that we're doing now is I'm working with some of the other companies just like mine, and they're outsourcing their entire staffing to me. Right. So I'm handling all the fulfillment, screening, screening resumes, posting the jobs, actually all the pre-interviews. So when you're ready, like you don't bring your clients to me, you bring me the job descriptions. I go find the people and I'm delivering qualified candidates to you in like 3 days, as opposed to 2 or 3 weeks like it used to take. And it doesn't miss, right? They're accurate. And so anyway, so that was the biggest problem that I solved, and kind of a roundabout way that I'm doing this now is I'm just kind of hanging out. Like I'm not really, I'm going to sit with this for a while. Right. And just be happy for once. And, business is great right now. And this is actually going to be an aspect that makes it even better. I'm just going to hang out with it for a while.
Yeah. Would you say, on like what you were just saying, do you feel like the challenge is the applicant pool, like the quality of potential recruits, or what's the biggest challenge your business is facing?
I mean, the applicant pool's there, right? Because there's always talent that's looking. It's the way you position the jobs. You have to really screen out the freelancers, because they'll crush you. They will kill your business, unless you want somebody who's okay with that. But for me, we're all full-time placements, and so it's like you're working with us and only us. We're the employer of record, and we have a lot of rules that our people follow. But at the same time, they're getting paid 25% more than most of the other agencies out there, right? They're happy. We're getting full benefits. There's guaranteed contracts with us. There's all these things that come into play that make us very attractive to work with, as well as from the client side. And so, yeah, I mean, that the hardest part, in my opinion, was getting from resume to endorsement, and actually having the person that's qualified enough that wasn't bullshitting you during the interview, and that the client's going to like, and that they're going to stick with. Fulfillment it's easy to go out and sell. It's, can you fulfill?
Yeah, that's a good word. Let's talk about AI for a second. It's funny, anytime like something new with AI comes out, people always send me these articles like, oh, you don't need a VA anymore. I'm like, yeah, you do. I still think you do. So I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on how it's affecting the space and what it means for the future of overseas staffing.
So you're always going to need VAs, right? You're always going to need admins. They're always going to need, just like here in the States, right? There is always going to be a human element. Are there a lot of jobs that are going to be replaced? Absolutely, right? We're already seeing it happen. Although I believe, like, when you're seeing these large companies that are laying off thousands of people, I don't think it's AI. I think that they, overhired whenever money was cheap, and now AI is the convenient excuse instead of admitting to their shareholders that they fucked up. But there's always going to be a need to have that human element, right? It can't do everything. What it can do is, the people who know how to use AI moving forward are going to be the ones that are running things. So you get that one person that's sharp enough, that knows how to prompt, that knows how to build, that knows how to, and that understands the process from a macro level. So you can always teach micro. But if you find that person, and we're actually moving in that direction to where, we'll have AI enhanced, VAs as well, that understand AI, that can actually come in and help you build. And that's a whole different mindset. So, you're getting the people that they're sharper by default. Do they cost more? Absolutely, right? They know what they're worth. And, the Philippines right now, they're not a secret anymore. It's a very competitive job market over there. And so, so there's a lot, if you want to get, top tier talent consistently, you have to bring it. And so I believe that there's always going to be, there's a shitload of late adopters out there from especially in home services that won't even get into AI ever. Right? And then you have your early adopters, which, are the people that are, you see them online all the time that are just, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And that's awesome. But I feel there's a pretty long runway. But yeah, just teaching your VA like ChatGPT or Claude, and just even to just have a conversation with it and learn how to prompt it, I think that's better than not knowing it.
Have you ever, because I've talked to a couple other staffing agencies that play in like the Middle East, Central America. Have you guys ever gone outside the Philippines? We've tried, and it just, the one thing, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it, is that I feel like in the Philippines, it's hard to teach someone to just be a dog, to just like get them to go pound the pavement, make sales. They're very humble. They're very submissive. And so that is the one thing I'm like, man, I wonder if I could go to another country and just get people who are not afraid to make cold calls and you don't necessarily have to push out. You know what I mean? Have you, what have you found around that?
Yeah, that's a role I won't place for that reason, right? We don't do outbound sales. We'll do, if it's inbound and follow up and things like that all day, that's easy. But for those reasons, right? It's a submissive culture, right? Not all of them, right? We've had some really, really sharp appointment setters out there that go out and beat it. I don't want to get in trouble for saying that, but as a whole, right? Like you could look at an entire body of work and say, yes, there's probably cultures out there that are more aggressive and more suited for really being a phone warrior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Where do you feel like you want your company to be in 3 and 5 years? What's your long-term goal?
So I'm not one for recognition. I'm not looking to have my, name on a billboard or anything, anything like that. I want to, I live by financial freedom, right? I want to be able to, provide for myself and my family very comfortably. I also want everybody on my team to be in that position as well. But honestly, I see this software that it was done on accident, man. I had no desire to show it to anybody else, but it handles the front end and the back end of it. And I showed it to a couple people and they're like, "Bro, you have to sell this." So I do believe that I'll probably in 3 to 5 years, I would imagine, unless Claude comes out with something that can, and who knows, they could come out with something tomorrow that does it.
Yeah.
I would rather, I see myself being in wholesale, either exclusively working with franchises where there's no onesie twosie deals anymore, or working with other staffing agencies, helping them fulfill.
Yeah. 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 It's so interesting to me, man. I don't know. Like it's not a industry where I feel like we talk to each other. So I'm always curious to know what other people are doing, how they're encountering certain barriers. I don't get the sense that PE is really coming after this space a lot, I think they will. Yeah. I mean, I know Athena is one that in my mind, I'm pretty sure is VC and PE backed. I'm not aware of any others, but I agree. I think that if you're doing the routine, repetitive, tedious stuff, a lot of that I think is going to get replaced by AI. But at the same time, like I'm talking consistently to like pest control guys, and those guys are using VAs like crazy, so it's when it catches fire, it really is growing. And I love the blue collar space, but I would imagine there's entire industries and niches that are completely untouched by this type of, I think about financial advisory stuff. I'm a financial advisor by trade, and dude, I went after it for a little bit and I was like, this is too much of a pain. Like the compliance,
too much regulatory,
all the legal stuff. It's too much. It's just like, why would I do this when I don't have to? But I eventually think that those industries are going to be more affected and be placing more VAs and stuff like that as they finally catch on to it. I don't necessarily know what the future holds, but I do think it's smart to be enabling your VAs with AI. I think that you kind of have to, and it allows you to charge premium prices on it.
Exactly.
What else haven't we talked about that gets you fired up? Could be related to this or unrelated to it.
I mean, I don't know. It's pretty easy to get me excited. I think let's go back to what you were saying about a lot of people in this industry don't communicate with each other. And
what's up with that?
Dude, here's my opinion on it, right? So when you get into like blue collar or other territorial or regional businesses, right? So
Yeah.
if me and you are both in HVAC, who gives a shit, right? We're not going after the same customers. It's not
Yeah.
right. It's not. But I learned this in the credit card processing business because we're nationwide, we're worldwide, right? I've got clients in Spain, England, Australia. I got them all over the world. Anybody in this industry can do that too. And so I feel like with the people who, and I know there's a lot of good ones out there, and that's why I'm hoping you really put this group together because I would love to get connected with them. But
We're doing it, baby. We're doing it.
Yeah, the ones that I'm aware of, it's a scarcity mindset where they hold the ball close to their chest, and they're not sharing what's going on. Anything you share, then you'll see it, you'll hear in their fucking sales pitch the next week. And it's one of those where I don't think there's a lot of integrity in a lot of this industry, for whatever reason. But once people realize that there's enough business to go around, man. Like, dude, I could walk you. I'm not going to, but I could walk you into like a national franchise, and not, you know what I mean? There's millions of small businesses in this country, and getting people that know the business, in the room. I mean, like, there's so much stuff that I had to figure out on my own, right, over the years that, man, it would be great if I would have met somebody who's a couple years ahead of me that's willing to share, or even willing for me to let them pay them. Right. There's a guy, Nick, from TOA Global. He's, Nick Sinclair. They're like an 80 or $100 million company based out of Australia. And he's a buddy of mine, but he's a great guy, but he's so far ahead of me that I was trying to get him to coach me for a while. He's like, dude, it would be like having Zuckerberg try to teach you how to code. He's 20 years ahead of me. And but being able to meet people that are in between that are actually doing business, not just out here talking shit, right? They actually have the numbers behind it. They're ethical. Their employees stay, right? They don't have a ton of bad reviews on them. Things like that. That'd be great to get us all into.
Yeah, I mean, I want to. It's interesting. I've connected with just a few of them, and one of them was like, "Yeah, we exclusively do VAs for people that host Airbnbs. They own Airbnbs." I'm like, "That's not a space that I would ever get into."
Sure.
And then there's another one that I know of. He works only with property management companies. I'm like, okay, that is the one space that I found that it is a bit crowded is real estate. But more often than not, when I talk to a guy about a VA, it's like he's either heard one of his buddies, like maybe hired a VA one time, but it's never like, oh, I'm evaluating you and 3 other companies. Like it's never that conversation, which tells me there's still plenty of opportunity out there. Whereas with like credit card processing, like merchant services, dude, they're getting hit up by like 10 of those companies a week. It's kind of crazy. A day. A day. So yeah.
There's a huge TAM in this. And what I found in credit card processing, I was doing national franchises there too. I'm just running the same play again. The more specific a niche you can get, then the easier your conversations are, because you're having the same one over and over again. The easier it is to fulfill, because it's literally the same role. So like one of the accounts that we were just introduced to them, it's the same role. We're not, and we tell them, hey, we built out 14 different tasks with your corporate office. This is what they're going to do. They don't do anything outside of that. Right. And and it's like, I have conversations with these people now, and it's like, instead of trying to convince them, it's just say, here's what they do. Here's how it helps you. Here's what it costs. Okay.
Yeah.
So I love getting narrow and deep.
Okay. Put us on some game. So, imagine you're talking to my, blue collar audience, which by and large it primarily is, and maybe I'm thinking about using a VA and I haven't quite implemented it. Like where 2 or 3 areas, I should be implementing VAs in my business. And then what are some, think through I know for us, it's time zone, it's language barrier, it's security issues. Talk us through some of those as well.
Yeah. So going back to what I was saying before about revenue protection and process-driven admin, that's where these guys, they don't realize it until they see it, until you show it to them. But that's where the majority of their time's going. They're out there. Invoices or proposals are backed up, right? They're trying to get to them at night. They're not that accurate going out. A lot of this stuff, guys, is speed to lead, right? So especially if you're calling through and say you have like budget blinds or something like that, right? I don't wake up in the morning saying, hey, I'm going to go, order fucking blinds today. You do a quick Google search and you call, and if they answer, then you talk to them. And if they don't answer, you hang up and you call the next person. And then until you get somebody on the phone. And it's like an 80% chance that the person who answers the phone is the one who gets the business. You set the appointment, and then, you get into their house, and there's 80% chance you're winning. And so a lot of these guys, they have no system in place for that, right? They say they do. Oh yeah, I get back to my customers. It's great. Well, how long does it take? Do you call them within 2 or 3 minutes, or do you call them right back? No, it's by the end of the day. Okay. All right. So, maybe it's not that good. How's your closer? So being able to go in and actually show them that this is not going to be somebody who's going to, it's not another mouth to feed. It's not another head to manage once you're onboarded the right way. And, you will have to take a step or two back in the beginning to train them and get them up and running. And, finding a company, like one of the things that we do, we figured out that was a huge niche. So we have managed service where we actually, we have an offering where we actually manage them for you, right? We're doing daily check-ins. We're making sure the KPIs and the roadmaps are it's a completely custom, white glove handheld service. And that's great for white collar guys, right? Or blue collar guys. And, they have to see how much of their time, and it's not so much about like saving money or saving time. It's about showing them what they're losing by not doing this, right? I came into a little bit of money about 10 years ago, and it was the first money I'd ever made. And I was like, I'm holding this, I'm hoarding it. I had it in a savings account, right? It was like 7 figures sitting in a savings account, getting like 1%. But I was like, I'm never letting anybody touch this. I'm set for the rest of my life now. I was hoarding it. And my financial advisor was like, hey, dude, if we could do X, Y, and Z, which is very minimal risk, and, you could be getting, $6,000 or $7,000 a month out of this, right? And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. So I'm not, and it wasn't even, he was just putting it into a 7-day yield money market account. I mean, it was like there's zero risk to it, but that's the kind of like he had been, we'd been talking for months, and I had my heels dug in. I wasn't doing anything. And then he showed me what I was losing. I was like, oh shit. So, the next day wire was sent. And the same thing is, with these guys, right? They don't realize what is being left on the table in a lot of cases. And so being able to show them, and then show them that it's not hard, it's not challenging, and that there's other options out there to make it even easier on them. That's how you that's how you can win them over.
I think for us, it's the, I love the software idea. I've thought about that, like a simple, and I don't know what yours does, you don't have to tell me, but a simple dashboard, task management, visibility, time tracking, stuff like that. It's all in one place. But the onboarding is the one for sure. Like I've been trying to do some like Dan Martell, buy back your time coaching with my clients. I've been trying to create custom onboarding plans. The one that gets me is like the guy that he's just on the move all the time. You can't pin him down. And like just a simple daily 15-minute standing meeting with a VA to explain stuff doesn't even happen. So like those are the ones I'm like, how do I get this guy to onboard? Because I gotta kind of I have to help the guy shift how he does business fundamentally. Like, sitting down for 15 minutes to have a meeting with a VA, like that shouldn't be that much to ask,
Right. You have to buy.
So I agree. I think the onboarding is clutch. And, I'm always looking for upsells.
Well, for that guy, you have to fire that client, or you have to tell him that you're going to fire him. Look, dude, like, listen, you're playing with my livelihood and you're playing with your VA's livelihood. If you're going to fuck around like this, that's not how we do business here. And if you want this to work, it will work, but you need to play ball with us. And if not, that's fine, right? I got a VA, your VA, I'll gladly place them with somebody else and they'll be happy and everything's going to work. But if you can't commit to 15 minutes a day or 45 minutes a week with me, something like that, then bro, this is never going to work. You can go back to your truck, right? And do whatever. And 99% of the time they'll be like, whoa, okay. All right.
That's good. I like that. I'm stealing that.
I do that shit all the time. We fire clients all the time. Like if you show any sign of disrespect or aggression to us, especially in the first 90 days, I will fire you. No problem. I'll take that VA. I'll go place him with somebody who's going to treat him.
That's good. That's good. Chris, where can people find out more about your business? And I just followed you on Instagram. Where can people find out more about who you are and what you do?
Instagram. That's the best way for me. Get on there. That's the best way to get a hold of me. I am Chris Kille, ChrisKille.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling I'll appreciate your content since I'm about as ADD as it gets. So
yeah, it's fun, man. You just get on and talk about real shit. And so I used to try to sell VAs and stuff all the time. It's nothing. You get no engagement. And I get on and talk about, how I'm going to do an argument yesterday because I wanted a dopamine hit, right? And you get 2 million views and, you get 100 leads out of it. It's, it's fun. And I don't edit my videos anymore. So, it's just, I pick up the phone and talk. And it's way better than whenever I was paying somebody $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to do my content for me. So,
yeah. Interesting.
Talk super easy.
Interesting. All right. Well, stay tuned. We got to get this VA mastermind here going. Anything else before we hop off?
No, I was going to say, hang on. Once we after we're done, I want to show you this roadmap. I'll show you some, share something with you.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. Don't go anywhere. We'll keep talking, but thanks for coming on the show.
All right, brother. Nice to meet you.